The sun hung low over the broken ridges of Arizona, painting the land in a haze of gold and sorrow. The wind carried the scent of dust, leather, and gunpowder, a mixture familiar to every cowboy who'd ever bled on this soil. And somewhere out there, a man named Clay Danton rode alone, his heart heavier than the colt on his hip. The sound of his horse's hooves echoed like a slow drumbeat across the canyon floor, each thud pulling him deeper into a story he never meant to live. Clay wasn't a hero, not by his own account. He'd done things a man didn't talk about under God's sky. But that evening, as the sun burned the horizon, he stumbled upon something that would change everything, a trail of blood, fresh and desperate, leading to the banks of the San Pedro River, and there she was, a woman, half-conscious, bound at the wrists, her dark hair matted with dust, her skin the color of the desert earth itself. The patterns painted on her arms told Clay enough, Apache. She was wounded, barely breathing, and tied like a hunted animal. Around her, 3 men laughed, passing a bottle of whiskey, bragging about the bounty they'd earn by delivering her to Fort Adams. Clay didn't think. He just moved. A single gunshot cracked the silence, then another. When the dust settled, 2 men were on the ground, and the third ran like hell into the rocks. Clay didn't chase him. He knelt beside the woman, cutting her free with his knife. She didn't speak, didn't even flinch when he lifted her. Her eyes, black as midnight, just stared through him, hollow but alive. He carried her to his horse, whispering to calm her as the wind howled through the canyon. "Easy now, darling. I ain't gonna hurt you. You're safe now." But even as he said it, he knew those words were a promise he might not be able to keep. By nightfall, they reached a small abandoned cabin. Clay built a fire and tended her wounds as best he could. She watched him in silence, eyes filled with something he couldn't read. Fear, maybe anger, maybe both. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but strong.
"Why did you save me, Cowboy?"
Clay looked into the fire, not daring to meet her eyes. Didn't feel right leaving a woman to die that way. "Guess I owed the world a good deed or two." She said nothing for a while, then whispered her name, Naya. The name carried a kind of rhythm, a heartbeat of its own. They spent 3 days in that cabin. She spoke little, but each word she did say carried the weight of her people, her pain, her pride. Clay learned she'd been taken while defending her tribe's water source. She was no ordinary captive. She was the daughter of the Apache Chief, a leader's blood running through her veins. On the 3rd night, when her strength returned, she tried to leave. Clay stopped her. "You walk out there alone, they'll come for you again. You're not safe." Her eyes flared. "I'm never safe. Not in your world." Those words hit him harder than a bullet. He looked away, jaw tight. Then maybe you ought to let me make it safer." Outside, thunder rolled across the desert, lightning carving silver streaks over the distant mesas. For a moment, neither spoke. But in the firelight, something passed between them, a fragile, unspoken understanding. She was proud, wild, untamed, and he was tired of running from the good left in him. The next morning, Clay saddled his horse, meaning to ride her north, closer to Apache lands, where she could find her people. But the desert had its own plans. A storm rolled in from the west, fierce and unrelenting, washing the trails clean and blinding the horizon. They took shelter beneath an old bluff, huddled close to the fire. That night, she told him about her father, the chief of the Thunder Rock tribe, man known for his wisdom and wrath. "If he finds you with me," she warned, "he will kill you." Clay smiled faintly. Wouldn't be the first man who tried. She turned her gaze on him, something like sorrow flickering in her eyes. "You think this is a story where the hero rides off free, Cowboy?" "You don't know my people." "I ain't no hero," Clay said softly. "Just a man trying to do one right thing before the world forgets his name." The rain eased by dawn. They rode out side by side, through a land reborn in gold light and silence. For the first time in years, Clay felt something stir inside him, hope fragile as a whisper. But just as they reached the river crossing, the silence shattered. Arrows whistled through the air. A dozen Apache warriors appeared from the ridges, faces painted in red and black, their eyes fierce as fire. Naya called out in her native tongue, raising her hands. The warriors stopped, but did not lower their bows. One of them stepped forward, older, scarred, with the bearing of command. Her father. The chief's gaze fell on Clay, a white man with his daughter, carrying a rifle and guilt in his eyes. The silence between them was heavier than any storm. "You took my daughter," the chief said in broken English. "Now you pay." Naya stepped forward. "No, father. He saved me. The white men who took me, they are dead because of him." But the chief's eyes did not soften. "Then his payment is done. He lives only because of you." The warriors lowered their weapons, but Clay could see the hatred still burning behind their stares. He nodded once, understanding his place in this story. He turned his horse slowly, preparing to ride away. Naya's voice stopped him. "Clay!" He looked back, the morning light catching her eyes, dark pools of gratitude and sorrow. "You have paid your debt," she said. "But maybe, one day, you'll come for something more." He tipped his hat, words caught in his throat, and rode toward the sun, leaving behind the echo of her voice and the ghost of what might have been. The desert swallowed him whole, as it does all men who try to outrun their hearts. And somewhere in the wind her name still followed him. If you felt this story deep in your chest, don't just scroll away, subscribe to the channel. Because out here on the western frontier, every story leaves a mark, every soul carries a scar, and every legend begins with one man's choice to do the right thing. Stay with us, partner. The next chapter is where the heart truly breaks.